class.
Hello, sir.
Okay, how are you today?
I'm fine.
Okay, so for today's class is our speaking class. This is the first time we learn speaking, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I will start with the introduction about the speaking. Okay, so can you see my slide here?
Yes.
Okay. So exactly, we need to know that how your speaking be assessed is really important. So exactly, there are four marking criteria for your speaking. The first one, we know that fluency and cohesion. It is really important to speak effortless if you want to achieve a 7. So for band 7, you need to speak for any topic effortless. It is like your natural speaking in your first language or in your Bahasa or in your native language. Okay.
Okay.
And the next one, cohesion. It is really important to use cohesive devices. We already learned that cohesive devices in our previous class in writing. So don't forget to use cohesive devices when you want to move to another idea or aiding the opinion, giving contraction. It is really important to add cohesive devices. So don't forget that when during your speaking, so try to use cohesive devices. And mostly, much students fail to achieve band 7 for fluency and cohesion because they forgot to use cohesive devices during the speaking. And another thing that you
Sir,
need,
what is cohesive devices?
is a like linking word. Are you familiar like in addition, additionally?
All like
Yeah,
conjunctions.
conjunction. Okay. Maybe you are familiar with the conjunction. So,
Oh, yeah.
okay. So don't forget to use them. And the next one, try to avoid using a lot of Wheeler's word during your thinking time. Maybe you are thinking about an idea. So rather than using a Wheeler, so try to use, okay, let me think a moment. During you say that, let me think a moment. So you think about the idea you want to say. It is okay to have a pausing during your speaking. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. The next one we have lexical resource. The lexical resource is the same like the previous one in writing. So using vocabulary based on the topic is really important rather than using a fancy or advanced word. The next one, don't forget to use collocation. And we move to another marking criteria is grammatical rank and accuracy. Make sure that don't do a lot of the mistake and error in grammar in terms of the subject verb agreement, in terms of a singular plurals, and don't forget to vary your sentence structure using complex sentences and giving additional information when answering the question. The last one is pronunciation. In the pronunciation, mostly students afraid that they need to have the pronunciation such as a British, American, or Australian. Absolutely not. So in the pronunciation section, what you need is you just need to speak clearly with your own native accent is okay. So you don't need to be British or American. But make sure that you have a clear pronunciation, having intonation, having stressing. I will show later on the audio in order to the video to make you clear what the difference about intonation, rhythm. Okay, these are the marking criteria we use for assessing your speaking. Okay, do you have any question? You have a question?
No.
No. Okay, if you don't have any question, so we move to next one here. Okay, so this is what you can do to help you to improve your speaking and assess your own speaking. So the first one, try to practice a grade the real IELTS questions. This is really important to grab the real IELTS question in order to improve your answer, because the type of question in IELTS would be the same format, maybe the topic may be different. So if you're familiar with the topic, absolutely, so you will be familiar with the vocabulary based on the topic. It will help you to improve your lexical scores. The next one, try to do a daily, record yourself for practicing part 1, part 2, and part 3 every day. And maybe you can record that in the morning or in anytime you have a free time to do that. Don't forget to listen back your recording. Try to evaluate based on the vocabulary. You may ask yourself, did I use the vocabulary based on the topics, collocation? Or you can assess yourself based on a grammatical range and accuracy and the pronunciation. Okay? Okay, do you have any question here?
No.
Okay, if there is no question, I will move. So in the speaking part 1, exactly in speaking IELTS, we have 3 parts, part 1, part 2, and part 3. In the part 1, you will be asking by the examiner about everyday question or everyday situation about your life. So it could be 2 until 3 questions topics, and would be 3 topics, but it will be last between 4 until 5 minutes. Okay. Here, what you need to do, this is really important. You try to expect the question. You know the question. This is really important. The next one, having a good impression for the examiner, because it will make your speaking test feel comfortable. And the next one, pretend to you are interested in the question. However, you may not, but try to be interested with the question. If you don't know the question, just tell the examiner, tell the truth, give the reason. If you don't have any experience, you don't need to say that you having experience. However, there is no rule that do I need to have a lie during my Do I allow to lie? Do I allow a lying during my speaking test? Absolutely, you can do that, but make sure you can give the explanation. Don't just give the short answer. Extend your answer. It is really important. Don't just give one short sentence for answering the question. Always try to give the more information, additional information. Okay, so this is the example of the speaking part 1 question. Can you see that? For example, like Hampton, the question might ask you, what is your Hampton? So you need to explain and give more information. Don't just say that my Hampton is, for example, like Jakarta. Just that. So after that, you keep silent. No, or you finish your answer. But you try to extend. Okay, you may say that, okay, I'm from blah blah blah. My Hampton is located in blah blah blah. In my Hampton is really a nice place to live in because I have been living here more than 20 years, for example. So you can say that. Okay. Okay, do you have any question?
No.
No, if there is no question, so I will show you this, the for speaking part 1 from IDB.
Welcome to our video series
Okay, this one will show.
Welcome to our video series on the IELTS
This
speaking
audible?
test. The IELTS speaking test takes between 11 and 14 minutes. You'll do the speaking test face-to-face with a certified IELTS examiner, which gives you the opportunity
Hi,
to
hello,
prove your
everyone.
real-world
Thank you
communication
for coming.
skills to future
I was
employers, educational
teaching my
institutions,
students.
and professional organizations. Over the next 3 videos, we'll show you the 3 different parts of the IELTS speaking test and share our top tips on how to perform your best on test day. Your speaking test starts with the examiner introducing themselves and checking your ID. Then you continue to part 1, where the examiner asks you some questions about yourself before moving on to some general questions about familiar topics like work, study, family, or hobbies. In this part of the test, it lasts between 4 to 5 minutes. So let's see what that looks like.
Now, in this first part, I'd like to ask you some questions about yourself, okay? Tell me about your hometown or city. What kind of place is it?
I was born in Ho Chi Minh City, which is the second largest city in Vietnam. It's located in the south of Vietnam.
What's the most interesting part of the city?
The most interesting place about this place, you can pretty much find everything in the city, from cultural events to food scenes, they're all at your front door. It's not far from Australia, about 8 hours by plane, so this is attract a lot of tourists coming to visit every year. The most important thing is that the people are super friendly, even though they don't speak a lot of English, but they will try to go beyond their way to help you to navigate the city.
What kind of jobs do people do in your city?
The majority of people, they are working as farmers, working in hospitality, factory workers, and some professional jobs such as marketing and project management.
Would you say it's a good place to live?
To me, Ho Chi Minh City is a wonderful place to live because there's always something going on in there, such as international concerts, cultural events, and food festival. It is easy to get around now with motorcycle, and Ho Chi Minh City is now recently built a new train system, which is so easy for the local and tourists to get around and from too. More importantly, the cost of living is quite affordable, so you can live comfortably there when you have a stable job.
I'd like to move on to talk about food and cooking now. What kind of new food would you like to try?
If I would like to try some food, I would like to try sushi and ramen when I'm going to Japan next time, because this kind of food is full of stuff is containing of many different ingredients and very easy to access to no matter where you are in Japan. You don't need to go to a very fancy restaurant to have this, but you can pretty much have everything on the street.
Do you like cooking?
Do I like cooking? Yes, I do love cooking. This helped me to know where the ingredients are coming from, and I'm not a very easy eater, so it will be better for me to know where the stuff that I purchase from. More importantly, being able to cook a meal helps me to get to know another country culture better, to understanding why some certain ingredients in that kind of food to make them too unique to that particular country.
What was the last meal you cooked?
The last thing I made was probably yesterday. It was the chicken soup with carrots and potatoes because the weather was quite cold at that time. It was very
Hi, hello.
delicious. It took me about 45
Don't
minutes
forget
to get
to
ready
follow
because
me.
all of the prep,
Thank you
such as
for
washing the vegetable,
supporting
cutting the
and
and
give
boiling the
me
chicken. But I really enjoy eating the food
like
that I
my
have put in an
video,
effort to make
my
for.
live stream.
Do people in your country generally eat meals at home?
I think for the Vietnamese people, they tend to eat at home more so that they be able to spend more time with the family after a busy day. So during that time, they'll be able to share the story of what their day happening, what are they exciting for about in the future. A typical Vietnamese dinner at home will include some rice, some meat, some stir-fried vegetable, and a bowl of soup where everyone can share with each other.
Thank you.
Now let's look at how you can perform your best in part 1. Listen to what verb tense the examiner uses and make sure your answer matches the tense. Let's look at an example from the video where they do this with a past simple tense.
What was the last meal you cooked?
The last thing I made was probably yesterday. It was the chicken soup with carrots and potatoes because the weather was quite cold at that time.
Don't wait for the examiner to ask why. Show them your English language skill by adding a sentence or two to your answer. In the video, the test taker does this by giving reasons for his answer. Extended responses can help you with your fluency and coherence score.
Do I like cooking? Yes, I do love cooking. This helped me to know where the ingredients are coming from, and I'm not a very easy eater, so it will be better for me to know where the stuff that I purchase from. More importantly, being able to cook a meal helps me to get to know another country culture better, to understanding why some certain ingredients in that kind of food to make them too unique to that particular country.
Make sure you enunciate your words. For example, by opening your mouth when you talk so you don't mumble. Also make sure your intonation and rhythm are correct. Stress important words, such as words that show a contrast or an attitude. Let's look at an example from the video.
Would you say it's a good place to live?
To me, Ho Chi Minh City is a wonderful place to live because there's always something going on in there, such as international concerts, cultural events, and food festival.
You can find more preparation materials for the IELTS speaking test in the IELTS Prepare.
Okay, so after watching this video, what do you think? For speaking part 1, what should you do to answer the speaking part 1?
I should extend my answer, so not only answering the question, I have to give a reason why I answer it like that, and more information about my answer so it is clear and also look like I'm interested into that question.
Okay, don't forget to pay attention about the tenses used in the question when the examiner asking the question. It is really important. So if the examiner using a past tense, please respond in the past tense. Okay, so we may try to practice the question. Okay, are you ready? Okay,
There's the questions.
yeah.
Or
Yeah. So we practice both of these questions. Or you want me to choose another questions?
No, it's okay.
Okay. Okay, welcome to IELTS Speaking. My name is Wahyu. I will be your examiner. Okay. Please introduce your name.
My name is Manggala Felizardo, but you can call me Anga.
Okay, Anga. Okay, thank you. Where you come from?
I'm from Indonesia.
Okay. Okay. In the first part of the question, I would like to ask you about Hampton. Let's talk about Hampton. Okay, where is your Hampton?
My hometown is Jakarta. It is the capital city of Indonesia.
Okay. What is your Hampton like?
It is a busy and crowded city, but it is very exciting because there are many big malls and also great foods.
Okay. Do you often visit your Hampton?
I actually live here, so I visit it every day. But if I moved away, I would definitely visit my family often.
Okay. What is there for a foreigner to do or see in your Hampton?
Foreigners can visit the National Monument.
Hmm?
It's called Monas, or enjoy delicious street food
Hmm?
like satay
Hmm?
and nasi goreng, which is fried rice.
Okay. How could your Hampton be improved?
I think one of the big problems is traffic. The traffic could be better. It would be great to have more public trains so there are fewer private cars on the road.
Okay. Has your Hampton changed much since you were a child?
Mm, yes, a lot. Now there are many more of skyscrapers and new train system which allow us to travel more around the city, and it is such a big improvement than when I was a little.
Okay. We move to talk about childhood. Did you enjoy your childhood?
Yes, I did. I had a very happy childhood because I spent my childhood playing outside with my neighbors.
Okay. What is your first memory of your childhood?
My first memory is playing in a park with my parents when I was about 4 years old.
Hmm? Okay. Did you have a lot of friends when you were a child?
Mm, yes, I had a big group of friends at school or even at the complex of my house, and we always played football together during my free time or even like at home if I had a free time.
Okay. What did you enjoy doing as a child?
I really enjoyed drawing and playing video games with my friends on the weekends
Okay. Why?
because there are a lot of video games that I can play together with my friends, and sometimes I almost forgot that I I played with my friends for more than hours.
Okay. Do you think it is better for children to grow up in the city or in the countryside?
I think the city is better for children to grow up because there are more schools, libraries, and other buildings that allows them to learn something new. But the the countryside is also healthier than schools than city.
Okay. Okay, thank you. This is the end of our part 1 speaking. Okay, what do you think for your performance during the speaking part 1?
I think it's quite okay, but there's some pauses where I can think of a word that suits my sentence.
Okay, so it happened in the topic about childhood. In the some question you did well, but for the rest of the question you don't extend the answer. This is the problem, and you have a lot of pausing during the speaking. Yeah, but it is not too much for affecting for your fluency. But the problem mostly, I hope you can do it later. Try to extend the answer, such as the question in the second question, what is your first memory of your childhood? So your answer is really short. You need to extend the answer because you say that you remember that when the first time you play with your parents, right?
Yeah.
So give the explanation. Well, maybe you can add the information, how's the situation, about your feeling at the time. Okay.
All right.
Okay, but overall it is okay. But for me, another note is okay. You pay attention about the tenses and the grammar, but in the some occasion you may feel that to be consistent using the correct tenses, such as the question about the past situation. As exactly you need to explain it consistently in the past, but you switch the tenses into present situation, or you using simple present. So pay attention about it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so do you have any question for part 1? I assume that you will yeah, you will perform better for part 1, but I hope that in part 2 and part 3, so you can be consistent, you can maintain the level of your speaking, even that you may improve and rise your speaking performance. Okay, do you have any question for the part 1 before we move to part 2 question?
No.
No. Okay, so we can move to the next one. So in the speaking part 2, for some of the test takers, they may feel that it is really difficult for them because you need to speak at least 2 minutes. However, the examiner may say that you can speak for 1 until 2 minutes, but I always say that you need to speak at least 2 minutes. Just wait for the examiner to stop you during your long-term speaking, because this the long-term speaking, it is like how you do a storytelling. So the examiner will give you a booklet or a question or a topic. So you will have the topics and you will have the bullet points from the topics. So you need to answer the question and you need to speak for 2 minutes about it. Okay, this is the cue card for, but before we move to, I show you the example. So this is the tips for you. So try to answer all of the bullet point. So pay attention during your planning time, because you will have 1 minute planning time. So use wisely to make sure that you have an idea to explain and answering all of the bullet points. Okay. And having a strategy, it is really important. Don't forget to always introduce the topic you have. For example, like you have a favorite place to visit, so introduce that. Okay, well, I'm going to talk about my favorite place to visit during my holiday. So always try to do introduction, introduce your topic. Okay. And don't forget to expand the ideas. It is really important. And don't be too perfectionist. These are some of my previous students, former student, facing a problem to extend the answer and perform well, because they think that they should be perfectionist. They imagine that when responding the question, it is like they will save the words. No, don't do that. Just try to talk anything that you know related to the question. Okay? Okay. So this is the strategy for you, such as introduction. Always introduce this topic you want, or always start your speaking in part 2 with introduction, introducing the topic. And don't forget to pay attention about the tenses. If you can switch between tenses during the speaking, make sure that you can do that correctly. Okay? And don't forget to vary your sentence structure. If you can show that the ability to use a complex sentence, compound sentence, and using if conditional, so it could be a good for improving to achieve or reach the highest score in your speaking part 2. Okay, this is the cohesive devices, maybe, or conjunction. Maybe you're already familiar with this one, right? Or you may read it and see it first. If you have any question, please ask me. Okay. Do you have a question?
No.
No. Okay. We can move. So you can have a linking word such as this one. I'm going to talk about, or for commenting, it goes without saying that a lot of phrases you can use for adding or linking your speech. Okay. Okay, this is the speaking part 2 for the IELTS. You can see that speaking part 2 for IELTS. So this is the example of the question. So in the question, we'll ask you this one. Describe a website help you a lot in your work or study. If you are working, so you may answer based on your jobs. But if you are student, so based on your studies. Okay. So this is a bullet point you need to pay attention. So what the website is, and how often you use the website, and what the information website give you and explain, and how's your work and study would change if the website didn't exist. So don't be afraid that when you 2 minutes speaking, it is not too long. But for some people, if they don't prepare well, so it would be a problems, because they can finish to speak for 2 minutes, or they don't answer the question properly. So always, if you have the idea, try to give the additional information. Always extend your answer. Okay, and pay attention what type of tenses do you need for responding the question. However, the question may ask you in the present, so you may answer in present and also combine with the past, so you can add the information about the past situation. Okay, you have a question here?
No.
No. Okay, if there is no question, I will show you a video for speaking part 2 for IDP. So
Welcome to part 2 of our
This
3-part
one.
video series on the IELTS speaking test. In this video, we'll be focusing on part.
Okay.
Welcome to part 2 of our 3-part video series on the IELTS speaking test. In this video, we'll be focusing on part 2 of the IELTS speaking test,
What
also
are we
known
learning
as the
about
individual
Mr.
long
Right
term.
now, I'm teaching
We'll
my
show you what's
student about
involved and
IELTS.
look at some strategies to help you prepare and perform at your best. Part 2 of the speaking test lasts between 3 and 4 minutes, which includes preparation time. The examiner gives you a topic and asks you to talk about it for 2 minutes. Before you start, you will have 1 minute to prepare, and you can make some notes to help you with this. After your 1 minute preparation, the examiner asks you to start speaking. They use a timer to time your long term. Don't worry if the examiner tells you to stop speaking. It means that you've spoken for 2 minutes already. Afterwards, they might ask you 1 or 2 questions related to your long term. If you've already reached the 2 minutes, you only need to give a short response here. Let's see what part 2 looks like.
Remember, you have 1 to 2 minutes for this, so don't worry if I stop you. I'll tell you when the time is up. Can you please start now?
Yes, I will talk about a book that is special to me. I still remember the very first time when I came to Australia. My best friend gave me a nice book about traveling to Australia and how to adapt well in this country. It has been very useful for me ever since, even though I've been in Australia for more than 14 years, but I'm still using it up to now. The name of the book is called 100 Amazing Facts About Australia. The front cover has different kind of thing about Australian animal, some of the famous buildings like the Opera House. Additionally, this particular book consists of useful information such as the cultures, the people, and the festival. This helped me a lot to overcome the cultural differences when moving here. From reading this book, I was able to understand more about Australia in terms of geography and politics. Interestingly, one of the things I have learned is that approximately about 90% of the population of Australia who live on the coast, because in the middle is a desert, which is very hot and harsh for people to live there. That can also explain why different cities have different kind of weather. Another thing I can remember about this book is Australian ecosystem. It's not the same as anywhere in the world. Here we have a lot of different species such as kangaroo, koala, and penguin, and how the Australian government try to protect them in a special way so that they keep the nature going. I think this book is very important to me up to now because it helped me to adapt well to a new country and culture. I really want to say thanks to all my best friends, and I would like to highly recommend those. If you wish to come to Australia, please come to read this book before you come.
Thank you. Would it be easy to replace this item?
I don't think you can, because even though I could get a new book anywhere, but this book will not be able to replace with the care and the friendship that my friends have put in to ensure that I will be successfully in the new country. So thanks to them again.
Now, let's look at how you can perform your best in part 2. You're not tested on your notes, so don't worry about your spelling. You might use abbreviations or signs that will help you speak. A simple tip is to draw a cross on a piece of paper and take 4 sets of notes, focusing on the question words on the task card. Where, how long, what, why. Alternatively, You can use arrows to connect your notes together. Let's look at some example notes based on the topic in the video. Something I own that is important to me. Every task has a topic that you have to describe, followed by 3 bullet points and a final question. Use your 1-minute preparation to write your notes on the 3 bullet points and on the final question. Show the examiner that you can organize what you want to say and can move logically from one idea to the next. You can do this by using linking devices and discourse markers, which makes your long turn easy to listen to. These are words and phrases that connect ideas and express how you feel about what you're saying. Let's look at some examples from the video.
Additionally, this particular book consists of useful information such as the cultures, the people, and the festival. It helped me a lot to overcome the cultural differences when moving here. From reading this book, I was able to understand more about Australia in terms of geography and politics. Interestingly, one of the things I have learned is that approximately about 90% of the population of Australia who live on the coast, because in the middle is a desert, which is very hot and harsh for people to live there. That can also explaining why different cities have different kind of weather.
Some test takers start by speaking very quickly at the beginning of their long turn because they're nervous. Then they stop suddenly with nothing else to say. That's why it's important to practice your long turn with sample questions before taking your test. Record yourself to make sure you can speak for 2 minutes. If you stop, don't worry. You can always use phrases to give yourself time to think. Let's look at an example of this from the video.
That can also explaining why different cities have different kind of weather. Another thing I can remember about this book is Australian ecosystem. It's not the same as anywhere in the world.
That brings us to the end of our video on IELTS Speaking Part 2. In the final video, we'll look at...
Okay. After watching this video, what do you think? For part 2 question, what do you think after watching this video? But how do you use your 1-minute preparation?
Yeah, I actually want to ask about that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Go on. You have a question? Maybe you can finish your question first.
Okay, so how to like effectively use your 1-minute time to prepare?
Okay.
Welcome,
So what are the
welcome to
steps
video
I should write
Okay.
so I can speak fluently?
Okay. So I will show you a question. This is the question, our previous question. For example, like this one, we have, it depends on your style. If you want to cross or divide that your paper with 4 different sections, so you can divide that for each section for 1 note. Here, for example, what the website is. So just type down or write down any name of the website. So you don't need to write a sentence here. If you want to write abbreviation, this is okay, because you don't need to write the full one, but make sure that you can understand. For example, what name of the website you think that you are familiar and use. Maybe you can say that, what is that? Maybe, for example, a YouTube, for example. So what another thing that you want to say about YouTube to extend your answer? Maybe you can explain about the definition or what is the YouTube or what the YouTube is. So you explain about it. Okay. And the next one in the next side, or if we maybe we can, I will so wait, maybe I will use like this one, this one. So we divide that into 4 different one. So I will share it, this one. Okay, for example, because the question is name of website. Okay, how often do you use? Okay, what information and how your study or jobs, okay, affected if this web, okay, not okay, maybe this the question. Okay, so here if you do a planning here, so maybe you can write down just maybe the information, the name of the website, for example YouTube, or you can write like this one is okay. And don't forget what the additional information you need to add to extend this one. Maybe it is what web, a video based on web, where, okay, can find more material. So you can write down anything, you don't need to write in full sentence. So how often this you can write down what information. So make sure that your note are readable, because you can see that your note during your speaking time. If you may stuck or you don't know what information you need to explain, you can look at the question as well as your note. Okay, you have a question here?
No.
Okay, if there is no question, so can we practice for this question?
Yeah.
Okay, so back to our question, this one. Okay, you have 1 minute to prepare your note. Okay, okay, can we start for preparing your note for 1 minute?
I'm still preparing.
Okay, you may start from now. Okay, stop writing. Okay, you have 2 minutes to speak. Don't worry if I stop you during your speaking. Just remain about time is up. Okay, can you start speaking now?
Yeah. So I'd like to talk about a website that helps me a lot in my studies. The website is YouTube. I use this website almost every day, even after school. When I do my homework, I often go on to YouTube to help me to understand my lessons better, because sometimes there are some topics at school that I have a problem with. So this website gives me many useful videos. If I don't understand something in class like math or science, I can search for it and watch a tutorial video. So the videos explain things step by step, so they're easy to follow. I also use it to learn English. I watch videos with subtitles, which helps me improve my listening and also learn new words. I like this website because it makes learning easier and more interesting. Sometimes the videos have pictures and animations to make it more attractive. That makes me understand faster than just reading a book. If YouTube didn't exist, my studies would be harder and it would be boring if I have to read my whole textbook, and sometimes it is difficult to understand.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good. Well done. You already answered the question for 2 minutes. You can do that. However, I would like to say that I need you to improve a bit for your fluency. Maybe you can add the cohesive devices when you move to another topics or another idea. For example, like we when moving and like what information the website give you and explain. So you can say that in addition, why I really love to watch YouTube, because this website provide me a lot of videos. It is really important to support my study, because when I have a problem, I don't know exactly about my subject. So mostly I will search or surfing on the YouTube to find out the clear explanation. However, I already learned in the school, maybe because this is my mistake, I'm not really understand about my teacher explanation. So I will try to find out any new video or any videos that can support me in order to understand the explanation about my subject. So try to give the cohesive devices when you move to another idea.
All right.
Okay, the next one, you can see that we have the question like this one. How would the study would change if the website didn't exist? It means that it is something that you imagine. It is something not happen exactly, imaginable. It is not really happen. So we use the second condition with if conditional with second if conditional. So when answering this question, so please make sure that you use if conditional, the second if conditional. Okay, conditional sentence. If you don't know exactly the second conditional sentence, it is you use the when you use if conditional for the second condition, so you use a past form. For example, like if I were you, So the next sentence, you need to use a past form. I would go to the market, or I would visit my mom. So, for example, if I were a president, I would, not I will, but I would. This you use the second condition. Okay.
Okay.
But overall it is okay, but little bit I need you to improve your fluency in order a bit faster. If you can improve your speed during your speaking a bit faster, but you still need to have a good clarity during the answer. So don't forget to a bit open your mouth during responding or speaking. It would make your speaking clear. Okay.
Okay.
Do you have any question for part 2 question? What
No.
What do you think? Which one is the hardest one? Part 1 or part 2? For you?
To me, I think it's the first one because I don't have time to prepare.
Okay. Oh, so you have the difficulties to respond the question quickly. Yeah, absolutely. You need to respond the question quickly. However, you still have a time to think, remain silent, like 1 until 5 seconds. It is okay for doing that while waiting or while thinking about the idea.
Alright.
Okay. Do you have any question more?
That's all.
Features that are
Okay.
assessed in the IELTS speaking test.
So right now we show you the video about the pronunciation here. This is the video, the first video. Exactly, there are some videos here about the pronunciation. This series video, but we watch this one first.
And we'll share tips on how you can improve in each area. Welcome to our IELTS pronunciation series. In this series, we'll look at the pronunciation features that are assessed in the IELTS speaking test, and we'll share tips on how you can improve in each area. This video is a general introduction to the sounds of English. We'll talk about the pronunciation of individual words and phonemes, why it's important to pronounce sounds clearly, and how you can build your confidence in this area. Let's get started. In the IELTS speaking test, examiners use assessment criteria to give a score for each of the following 4 areas: fluency and coherence, lexical resource, grammatical range and accuracy, and pronunciation. Each of these carries equal weighting, and the overall average gives the IELTS score for speaking. This means pronunciation accounts for 25% of your IELTS speaking score. Here's what the IELTS speaking band descriptors say about words and phonemes at band 6 level. Individual words or phonemes may be mispronounced, but this causes only occasional lack of clarity. So, what are phonemes, and how can you make sure you're pronouncing them clearly and correctly? Phonemes are the individual sounds that we use to form words. You might see these sounds represented by phonetic symbols like these in a dictionary. There are 44 phonemes in the English language. 20 of these are vowel sounds, that is, sounds that we write as A, E, I, O, U, and Y. The other 24 are consonant sounds, which cover everything else. There are 2 types of vowel sounds in English: monophthongs and diphthongs. Monophthongs are single vowel sounds. These include sounds like I in brick, E in pet, U in look, and A in hat. The second type are diphthongs, which are 2 vowel sounds together. These ones include sounds like A in rain, Oi in boy, I in sky, and Ow in cow. There are also 2 types of consonant sounds in the English language. The first type is voiced consonants.